All right, fellas, let's talk about Reflectix. I'm not sure what the real name of it is. I'm not sure what you call it. I call it Reflectix. I think that's a brand name. I'm not sure. I'm not selling this for anybody specifically, but this is what it is. Mainly as cold mitigation, as a way to stay warm. This stuff, if you camp, if you do any camping, if you're involved with the Boy Scouts, and they do a lot of camping, this is how I came across this. This is game changing. I'm a gear junkie, and I don't mind going from the lowest portion of gear, the lowest style, the lowest monetary, the cheap stuff that you buy at a Waldo Mart, all the way up to the highest brand name stuff. All in between. I'm a gear junkie, and I'm going to tell you that this stuff is a game changer. Here's what it is. It was originally built as insulation for ductwork in the HVAC, in the heating and ventilation. HVAC guys wrap ductwork with this stuff. It's basically bubble wrap. That's all it is. It's bubble wrap with the stuff that is an emergency blanket on both sides. Now, here's some commercial stuff. It's black on one side and silver on the other, but it's got the bubbles in between. Here's why it's such a game changer. Is it stops the cold dead. Now, I'm not saying that cold will not mitigate through this, but it will make a difference between a cold night and, hey, last night I heard it was kind of cold. It is incredible. And here's some of the stuff about it. I call it Reflectix, and here's where you get it. The big box store hardware places, the orange place and the blue place, yeah, they definitely have it. Some of your smaller hardware stores, some of the other places might have it. It comes in a roll, and it comes in 2 foot or 4 or 5 foot wide by a roll. I don't know, 20, 30 feet long, something like that. You go in the insulation aisle where they got the pink insulation and the insulation, the blue board insulation. You'll find a roll of this stuff. So we're talking, I don't know when you're watching this, 40, 50 bucks for a roll. So the 2 foot's going to be cheaper than the 4 foot. But here's why. My own son told me this story. I used to have a chunk of this cut wide enough for a sleeping bag and long enough for sleeping bag. And he had his hand on there one night outside of his sleeping bag. And I knew that it would be a barrier from the cold ground. It's a bit of insulation because it's bubble wrap, okay, and it keeps you off the ground a little bit, but I kind of knew it's better than a piece of canvas, a piece of blue tarp. It would have a little bit of insulation. And my own son said he had his hand outside of his sleeping bag, and it was cold that night. And for whatever reason, he rolled his hand like this, and he pulled it in, and he said, "Dad, you could feel the cold radiating up through the floor of the tent." It was amazing. You could just feel it. Since then, I mean, this was years ago, and I've done that myself, and I've had people do that. And there are other insulation. You can buy sleeping pads and everything else. But for the price and for how you can treat this stuff, you cannot mess up. Now, I guess you could be a butthole and pop each individual bubble, but it's not easy. I'm telling you, you can really jack this stuff up and roll it and fold it and do whatever. And it is intact and usable. It's not gonna fail you. You're not gonna get on the trail. You're not gonna get camping that night and poke a hole in this and, oh no, the air is out of your air mattress. Now, it won't give you a whole bunch of, like an air mattress or a sleeping pad, things like that. It won't give you a whole bunch of padding. But it does stop that cold. It does give you a clean place to put your sleeping bag down. We've been on hiking trails and used the Adirondacks. You get in there, and the dust or the mud or somebody, unswallowed lunch, and Now you're going to put your sleeping bag in that stuff. You can put this down, and now you have a clean place to sleep. If you make it long enough for your sleeping bag ends here and it continues on. You can have your pillow fall out. You can have you can put your hand outside your sleeping bag, and you're still on a clean piece of earth. So that's if you have it big enough to put a sleeping bag on. And that's actually pretty simple, because if you take an old camping chair bag, one of those bags, it's a camping chair. Now, if you blew out your camping chair because you were a bit too hard on it, or you gave it to kids, then you keep that bag, because the bag will hold a chunk of Reflectix. And you can make this as long as you want. You can make it 8-10 feet long. Now, I have this as, I don't know, 4 feet wide, something like that. Well, actually, I cut it so that it would specifically fit in a camping chair bag. And that's plenty wide enough for my sleeping bag to go on. You roll that out, and it weighs nothing. And also, you could take this and put it in a bag or in a trunk, or put stuff on it. You're not going to jack this stuff up. It's great. So that's putting it for use under a sleeping bag. How about this? How about in your bag? I'm not going to get into go bags or get home bags and all that noise. Oh, you internet, your noise. But how about this? Oh, TP. We'll talk about TP another day. How about that? How about this chunk that lives in that bag all the time? Well, what's this for? Well, I take that bag when I go hunting, when I go hiking, when I leave the house. That bag is always kind of with me. And here is a chunk of it. And this has got to be 15 years old. Indestructible. And why do I have this? Well, if I go hunting, it's actually kind of cool. It'll lay over a log and kind of hug a log, and I can sit on it. Dry butt. If I want to look up underneath the car for something, I can kneel on it, look up under the car. Dry, clean clothes. If you're in a suit, you don't want to be kneeling on the ground in any weather. Well, here's a clean thing. If you go camping, backpacking, anything like that, and it's time to make dinner, you pull your stuff out, it's clean. The bugs aren't getting... It's just a nice surface, and it weighs... I mean, I've had this thing in my bag for a while, so it kind of folds itself up. It weighs nothing. You can't jack it up. I mean, I guess someday I'll weigh it and put it in the comments, but this stuff is a game changer, called Reflectix. It is in the same line as your emergency blanket material, but different. It insulation from the ground, keep things clean, keep things safe. I've even stayed in cabins. Again, camping with the Boy Scouts. You get in a cabin in the wintertime, single pane window, and there's your bunk next to this window, and you can feel the cold just running off that window right onto you. And I'll take a larger section of this that I always, have chunk in the truck, and put that up against that window. And it keeps the cold from dropping off that window down onto you as you sleep. Or maybe you don't really like the mattress that they're giving, or the box spring. You don't want it to, or the springs, not box spring, the springs. And you don't want to poke in a hole in your sleeping bag. Maybe you got a down sleeping bag. Oh, big money. You don't want to be ripping that up. How about a little protection from that stuff? Reflectix. It's shiny, comes in all kinds of different ways. It's cheap. Fellas, I'm telling you, for the price, give it a shot. It's a game changer.